Hi, everyone. Welcome to our information session for community partners about the Baltimore Community Practicum course, or BCP. My name is Mindy Levin. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm the founder and director of Source. And I'm really excited to have you with us today to learn a little bit more about this special course that we operate through Johns Hopkins Source. What I'm going to cover today, I'm going to give you a little bit of background about the course. I'll talk you through the process that we utilize to recruit students and place students with you for this special course. I'll talk a little bit more about the project proposals. They're a little bit different than a lot of our other source opportunities. I'll share some of the supports that we provide through our center. And then at the very end, I'll take some questions for those that are with us live today. So let me start by saying, as I mentioned, this is a special course for Source. That's because the Baltimore Community Practicum course is our flagship service learning course. For those that already know us rather well, you know that Source is the Community Engagement and Service Learning Center. And service learning is a pedagogy that we utilize here at Source in many of our courses, as well as our co-curricular programs. And the work that we do in service learning is really to respond to community identified opportunities of our partners. So it's you all that tell us, what are the opportunities that you all have and how can we support you? And in this service learning pedagogy, there's some other areas that we focus on. The best way that I can describe it is that we're really committed to working towards social change, as well as forming authentic relationships, really between our source faculty and staff, as well as our community partners and the students, faculty, and staff that are engaged with these collaborations. And lastly, we also talk about this redistribution of power. So when we're working together, we look at ourselves as equal. We all bring different experiences and lived experiences to these relationships, including our students have really fantastic backgrounds, experiences, passions, and they're thrilled to be able to work in partnership with our community-based organizations. So this is our flagship service learning course. Let me tell you a little bit about the background of how we come to determine these Baltimore Community Practicum courses. So for the course, we're always looking for projects that our partners will identify. And I really highlighted here the word project. This is not an opportunity to just have a student come in and do the same thing every day. We want you to identify a project that has a beginning and a goal that you're working towards. Like, what is the end goal that a project could be completed by one of our students? It's a great course because we're able to recruit for you a graduate level Johns Hopkins public health student to be in partnership with you over 16 weeks of this particular course. So again, we're going to talk a little bit more about what these project proposals can be, but that's what I mean by saying a project has to be something that they are working towards. It could be a project that, again, is identified based on organizational needs or limited capacity that you might have, but it is something that they're trying to wrap up before they end their time with you all. Now, the 16 weeks of the course, I want to describe it because it's a little bit different. I think many people are used to a traditional college experience that has a fall semester and a spring semester. And at the Bloomberg School of Public Health, we actually have academic quarters. So the quarters would be first quarter and second quarter would be the first two halves of what you would think of a fall semester. And then the third quarter and the fourth quarter would be the two halves of what you would think of a spring semester. So really, we do summer recruitment with our community partners to look for your project ideas. And in our first quarter of the year, so it's like late August into about mid-October, is when we're doing the student recruitment and having the opportunity for you to meet student candidates and select candidates that will then work with you for the second half of the fall semester. They go late October all the way up into their winter break. They do have a winter break. We do not require our students to work on their projects during winter break. Some students and organizations, if that works for them and they want to do some extra work around them, that's fine, but it's not required. So then the students come back mid-January from their winter break, and then they work with you through middle of March, right before they have their spring break. So the 16 weeks is broken up in a little bit of a different way, but it certainly is a great way to have students working with you for a good part of the academic year. And again, with these projects, students are utilizing their public health skills. They're developing these skills There's other courses that they are taking. There's past experiences that they're bringing in. So we really want to see a great way for our students to have these real world public health practice experiences where they become a part of your community-based organization. As a matter of fact, we really get the students to engage with your organization, understand it a little bit more. They even talk more about what it's like to be collaborating with your organization and viewed as a member of their team. The other thing that we do in this course is that we do have a weekly seminar that the students participate in, and we do some critical reflection, talking about their own experiences. We talk about power, positionality. We also talk a bit about Baltimore and topics that we are trying to work on here in our city, including the assets that we have in our local community. So a lot of in-depth conversations and discussions for the students as they're having these great experiences. When the students actually apply to this course, it's a little bit different. Students just don't register. They actually have to apply and get selected to work with you on your project. They do have some requirements that they have to commit to. Again, they're completing the project over these 16 weeks. The vast majority of the students over the years, they work on their projects for 4 hours per week. That's the norm. So most of the students will do that as like a half-day shift. Some of them will break it up and might do 2 hours here and 2 hours there. But that's really the vast majority of the students are doing 4 hours per week if they're working on the project with your organization. There is an option if you needed a student to work more that you could ask for them to work 8 hours per week. Those are really the two options because each 4-hour block is equal to 1 academic credit at the school. We don't give half credit. So your choice is really either saying, I think the student can complete this project 4 hours per week or 8 hours per week. The only thing that I will say about 8 hours per week, for some students, that's going to be a little bit too much time for them to commit. And so they might look at your project proposal and just say, see the 8 hours a week and think that's too much for me. I'm not going to consider applying. So, it's something that you can choose to do, and we can certainly talk through. There's a little bit of negotiation that could happen. I've also seen some students that work about 6 hours a week in one of the quarters and, work 4 hours per week or 8 hours per week in another quarter to kind of balance out how we'll look at those academic credits. The other thing that I'll say that's really nice about the Baltimore Community Practicum course is this is our last opportunity for our community partners each academic year for you to identify almost any type of project that you want. A lot of our other service learning courses, the faculty are looking for a very specific type of project that is connected to the exact type of skill set they are teaching in their course. For this Baltimore Community Practicum course, I'm really almost unlimited in terms of the ways that we are able to have students working with your organization. The one caveat here is that we are unable to have any of our students conducting human subjects research projects. Sometimes when project proposals come in, I will talk with you a little bit more about what students are able to do and what they may not be able to do, some of the gray area and some workarounds that we can do. So in terms of topics, in terms of skill sets, really it's almost wide open other than this human subjects research component that they're unable to do. To highlight is that each student is working with your organization, and you or someone at your organization has to be the designated preceptor. That's the word that we utilize as someone that's like the mentor that's working in collaboration with the student. So this is regularly working between the student and that CBO preceptor. For us, that means it's a weekly check-in. This is a really important part of the student's learning experience, bringing them on board, making sure that they are working on the project as you had hoped it to be, giving them feedback, steering them in the right direction, connecting them with others at your organization that might also be needed to be involved in the project. So we have to really focus on the fact that we need that regular check-in with the community organization preceptor and with the student. At the beginning, when somebody is onboarding, you might have a little bit of a longer check-in. Other times I've seen students and preceptors just have a half-hour check-in, but it needs to be something that we think is great to do in person or via Zoom versus just our check-in is an email where things can get lost or you don't get to cover all the things that you want to do. Now, the mode in which the student would work with your organizations can also vary. I'll talk a little bit more about these options. You can have a student basically fully on site for their 4 hours a week or 8 hours a week, a hybrid option where they're doing some time in person at your site and sometimes they're working remotely. We really shy away from opportunities that are fully remote, but if there is a real reason that your organization wants to have a fully remote project, we ask you to provide us that rationale. And the reason why we say that is because we've just had such better feedback from both our students and our partners when they are doing some engagement in person on site at their organizations. And as I mentioned, throughout these 16 weeks, the students are also involved with a weekly course seminar that I run with the students, and I'm checking in with them and talking about their progress, giving them some things that we want them to talk about with you all as preceptors as well. Now, as community preceptors, there's a few things that, again, we ask you to agree to do. Again, talking about working with those students closely throughout those 16 weeks and those check-ins. We also have some accreditation criteria for the School of Public Health that requires us to have on file for each of our preceptors a copy of your resume or your CV to have on file. Again, there's nothing specific that we're looking for there other than we want to have that on file to know a little bit more about people's backgrounds. So if you have a current resume, we'll ask you to submit that throughout the process. The other thing that we do is that we have a source online module for preceptors. Some of you have actually taken this online preceptor module before. We actually created it in partnership with a number of our community partners a number of years ago. And once we have people complete this online module, in total, it's about an hour. There's a quiz at the end of the module that gives you a certificate of completion. And once you complete that online preceptor training and get that certificate of completion, we ask you to submit it to us. And that training is good for 3 years. So you'd be able to utilize that training and don't have to repeat it for another 3 years. And then the last things that I'll mention is that for all of our community preceptors, we do have other requirements of completing both a midpoint evaluation and a final evaluation of the time that you spent working in partnership with your selected public health student for the Baltimore Community Practicum course and the project that you've identified. Let me share a little bit more about the course. As I mentioned, we have these weekly seminars, and I am not teaching one specific skill set. This is much more about what it means to be in a community academic partnership, how we develop partnerships with our community-based organizations, and what it's like to really be in depth on a particular public health practice project with an organization. So at the end of the course, the students are going to be able to describe the development and operation of the project that they have completed with their organization. They're going to be able to describe the real structure of your organization. Your organization becomes their public health practice site. So being immersed with your organization is a really important piece. And they're also going to understand a little bit more about the relationship that your organization has with the communities in which you serve. The students will also demonstrate some of these practical skills of promoting partnerships between organizations. We talk a lot about some of these methods that we utilize for these community academic partnerships. Community-based participatory research, which is CBPR. We talk about critical service learning, as well as civic professionalism. And then lastly, this is very much a values-based approach in which, again, as I mentioned at the beginning, we're centering community voices. We're working together as equals. We're really emphasizing the push to develop authentic relationships. So we talk about the values and attitudes involved with this type of approach to community engaged work. So to share a little bit more about this process, because it is a little bit more of a step-by-step process to get to the projects, how they're selected, and then how we start to recruit and select the students to work with you all. So for about the last 6 weeks or so, we have been sharing information with our entire network of source partner and community-based organizations that we have the call for project proposals for this year's Baltimore Community Practicum course. Today, obviously, we're hosting our information session, and we have the opportunity for people to put in their project proposals up until Friday, August the 9th, so a few more weeks to go. This course is a little bit different than some of our other opportunities through Source, and that's because the Bloomberg School of Public Health has this practicum requirement for all of our Masters of Public Health students. So the school has the Practicum Opportunity Site, or the POS, and there's a lot of different agencies, courses, and centers that utilize the Practicum Opportunity Site, which is run by the school. I have the URL listed here on the screen, and we'll also send that out. It's in all of our materials, but this pos.publichealth.jhu.edu is where you would submit your project proposal. And I'm going to show you what that looks like and talk a little bit more about it. Once you submit your project proposals from that Practicum Opportunity Site, I will get a notification as the faculty member that teaches this course that a proposal's been submitted. And I'll be able to review it. I might do some basic editing. I will also reach out to the preceptors if there are questions or clarifications, or if any particular updates might need to be made. So this is an opportunity for us to go back and forth a little bit. Again, I mentioned sometimes there's some gray areas that something sounds like by some of our institutional requirements, I might not be able to allow to have a student do a particular activity, but maybe I can offer something else. So once we have all those projects in, we've answered questions, we're on the same page, we then now have all of our projects ready to go. And on the very first day of the first academic term, which is Monday, August 26th, I believe is the date, we go live with student recruitment. And we will have very targeted opportunities for us to talk with students about the Baltimore Community Practicum course. Source speaks at orientation. We have information sessions, we have different workshops at the beginning of the year, and we really draw in the students that are thrilled to be involved with our community-based organizations here in Baltimore City. So students will have a window of time in which they submit their applications. In their applications, you're going to see that they'll provide their resume or CV. They're also going to provide a personal statement about their backgrounds and experiences and why they're interested in your particular project if they're applying to be considered for your project. The next step will happen is after the student applications, we have an internal team of faculty and staff at the School of Public Health that will review all of the student applications. And in doing so, we look at each project. So for example, I see my friend Jose is on the call, and if he had a project with total health care, there might be 20 some students that apply for that project. And we can only place one student per project. So instead of saying, hey, Jose, look at 20 some different student applications, our internal team will do that. We'll read through their materials, we'll read through their personal statements, and we'll select from the internal team the top 3 to 4 total candidates to send to you all, to you as the preceptor, to interview the students. So you will get their materials, you'll have a window of time to interview those students, and then you will be able to rank order the applicants and say, you know, here's my first choice, my second choice, my third choice. Sometimes we send a fourth choice if it's just really tight between the student applicants. And then you can also let us know, you know, I interviewed somebody and I don't think they're a good fit. Like, we don't want you to take a student that you don't feel is going to be a good fit for your organization. So you'll do your rankings. Some of the students might actually have more than one interview, so they might also do their rankings, and they might also decide after they have an interview, maybe they don't think that they're a good fit. So then at the very end, we'll receive the rankings from the students and from your preceptors at your organizations, and Source does the final placements. So we do that final process of saying, these are the students that are matched for the projects, and they're going to be participating in the course throughout 24-25 academic year. Oh, let me go through a couple more things, then I'll show you the site, and then I will take some questions. As I mentioned before, there's a couple of different options for how students can work with your organization, and it's up to you to determine how you would think a student would best serve your organizational needs. So you can say, you know, we really want our student to work their 4 hours a week at our organization. If that works best for the way that your organization works, and you want to say we're mostly on site, that works for us. And we're just saying that in the application process, and students will see that and know where your organization's located and how they might be able to get to your organization for their 4-hour-a-week commitment. The other option, which is pretty popular, is the hybrid option. Some of the time they're working in person and some of that time they're working remote. What I really want to get people to recognize, though, is with that hybrid option, that some time in person is really important. So we don't want the preceptors and the students to just get used to like, oh, actually, we're doing a little bit more remote. That in-person time and time again, students and community preceptors have said that's really valuable. So we really want you to hone in on the fact that some of that time should indeed be in person. And then lastly, if you need to have somebody work fully remote, just let us know. Tell us why that needs to be the case. It might be because of some limitations at your organization or how your preceptor is actually working. But all of these options do require that regular touch point, those weekly updates between your preceptor and the student. And I can't emphasize that enough. Now, when we think about these projects, again, projects that have an endpoint that the student's working to get to before they wrap up their 16 weeks, the best way that I like to describe it for myself is I'm always thinking about, oh, if I only had another person on our team, I keep a wish list of ideas of like, if I had more capacity, if I had another team member, what would we have them focus on? So if you have a wish list idea that you'd be able to supervise a student and walk them through, definitely think about those wish list items. The other things you can think about, obviously, is what are your organizational priorities? What are you all focused on right now? Is it something that you need for your organization overall? Is it something for one of the units or departments within your organization that you can clearly identify some type of project need? And then, as I said at the beginning, I don't have a limitation other than students cannot be doing human subjects research. A lot of students have helped with health education activities. They've fully designed programs or helped to design a program evaluation or get further feedback about the implementation of programs that are going on. They can assist with different types of program coordination. I've had students help organizations with different aspects of community organizing and outreach, whether that's to other community organizations or to constituents or like a statewide coalition building, and those kind of things have been a part of the work. We've had students help an organization with grant writing, which has also included doing some literature reviews, putting a grant template together, or really trying to gather more information that can be used for various materials, including outreach campaigns, social media. What are the needs that have been identified by your organization, by your boards? And again, these are just to kind of think about a few options. I have been running this course for many years, and I'm always happy to give people more examples and can talk with you one-on-one about some of the ideas that you might have to see if there's some way that we can fine-tune it if you need those additional assistance. So the other things that I will say is that there is first for these project proposals, we have on our website, I'll drop that link in here, the call for project proposals. It's lengthy because I'm trying to give you as much information as possible about what it is that the students are able to do, I give you the full timeline of when we are doing the student recruitment, interview times, etc. Give that to you in a table. We also share a little bit more about like what are the skills that public health students are working to develop. Again, I think that helps with people with brainstorming. And in that same call for project proposals, I also include a screenshot of the step-by-steps of putting your project proposal into the school's practicum opportunity site. So I'll tell you, like on this screen, select this, or say 4 hours a week here, or 8 hours a week here. I give you the student deadline to apply. So having that handy as you're going into the practicum opportunity site and just knowing, I'll give you a little bit of screenshots. Once you're in there, to be honest, it is pretty straightforward, but I do give some clarifying information just in case you have questions as you're submitting. For you all as preceptors, you do have until Friday, August the 9th to submit your project proposals. So that is the best way for you to get your information in. I will receive a notification once you submit through that practicum opportunity site. There's a little bit of wiggle room for us to go back and forth with questions and clarifications, but I do need to absolutely have all projects finalized. We're both on the same page about your projects by August 21st. That's just because I need to then finalize the student application because we go live a few days later, and the application will include every single project that's included in the Baltimore Community Practicum course. The next key dates for you all to know, because we have a lot of other things about information sessions for students and when we're talking with them and sharing details, is the interview timeline. You have about a 2-week window in which you'll be given to interview those top 3 to 4 students that have expressed interest and have been reviewed as a quality applicant. We don't like to send, if somebody, one of our students, if they give an application that really is not a strong application, they're not going to be sent to you for an interview. We really want to send you great quality applicants that have expressed interest in working with you on your project. So we ask people to kind of look at your calendars now for that time frame, September 25th to October 9th. Once we have all these projects together, I'll even ask you if you have any dates that you know that you're traveling during that time so we can let the students know. But that's your 2-week window to be able to interview those students, get to know them, and then you're going to submit your student rankings to us by that last day, by close of business on Wednesday, October the 9th. And that's because the very next day, I'm going to look at the student rankings. I'm going to look at your rankings as a preceptor. We'll finalize them on October 10th. And by the end of the month, when the course gets going, you'll be ready to jump into this partnership with your selected student. The last couple of things here that I want to point out are some of the supports that we provide through Source. In this case, it's myself as the course director. I will also have a student program assistant that works closely with me that will provide some additional support, as well as a teaching assistant that works with me for the course. But we're here to support the application and selection process for our partners and for our students. And when we have the students, part of the course is onboarding them. So we do talk quite a bit about Baltimore history. We talk a bit about that relationship between Johns Hopkins and the Baltimore community, the good, the bad, everything in between. We keep it real. We want people to understand the history as well as the assets in our community. The students are tracking their hours. They have some reflection assignments. They're keeping us in the loop about how things are going. As I mentioned, I'm meeting with the students every week. So sometimes I'll hear students mention things in class, and I might follow up with you to just check in and say, hey, I heard a student mention this in class. But I'm also a resource to you all. If you have any questions that arise or concerns that you might have with your students, I'm here to support you and the students as well. Again, we will do these required midpoint and final evaluations that the preceptors will submit. Same thing will happen with the students, and they'll have to submit their final deliverables. They'll have a final report. We do final presentations that you all are invited to, and the students will also do a final evaluation. And I will constantly tell you as preceptors and the students, please reach out to me if there are any issues, large or small. Just be in touch. I am happy to support everyone, but I need to have that communication. And I actually think it's worse when people kind of wait and don't say anything and let a problem become a larger problem. So we're here to support. Okay, so I am going to show you momentarily. I'm going to take these links and be able to, I want to show you the Practicum Opportunity site, and all this information is available on our website as well. I'll make sure that you have my email so that you're able to contact me if you have questions, but I'm going to stop sharing my screen here for just a moment. That way I can show you the website. Give me a moment. Okay, so I'm going to go to our Source website. Thought I had this screen open before, so you're just going to navigate with me for a moment. It's actually kind of nice because I can show you how to navigate a little bit within our website. But on our homepage, you'll see information about who we are and the work that we do, and places that you're able to navigate to from our page. But we can always have this page that has who we serve, and we have information about various constituents, which includes our community-based organizations. So I'll click on community-based organizations, and we have details for all of our community partners. And again, when we're sending out almost weekly emails to our whole network of organizations, we'll always give you the direct link to something that we're talking about. And this actually looks a little bit different in the way we're navigating it because I'm sharing it via Zoom. But one of the nice things that we have on our website is our Source Opportunities Guide. And our Source Opportunities Guide, if you have not already navigated through it, this is the first time that it is a fully virtual online site that has details. We'll share information about how to use the guide, but it has a couple of basic sections, some background about us, services and resources that we provide for our partner CBOs. And there's also a handy timeline of when we're doing key recruitment, just so you have that in mind when you're thinking about possibilities of connecting with our students. And then some of the other key types of programs that we offer include one-time and short-term projects, ongoing and long-term projects, as well as service learning courses. For the Baltimore Community Practicum course, you can actually navigate the information on this two different places because it is long-term, but it's also a service learning course. So I'm going to click on service learning. And when you learn a little bit more about service learning courses within our opportunities guide, we share some more information about what service learning is, but you'll also see a list of our currently active service learning courses. And I'm going to click on the Baltimore Community Practicum course because that's what you are all here to learn more about. On our website, again, it's a simple URL, but we provide this to you directly. You can see some more details about each of our service learning courses. We have a little bit of an at a glance at the top of each page, but you'll also see when we're doing live recruitment, such as we're doing right now, we have the application for the Baltimore Community Practicum course need to be submitted through our Practicum website. You will see the full information about the Baltimore Community Practicum course here as well. So if I clicked on that, it's a PDF that has all of the information, that background that I'm telling you about, and also has the screenshots of what the Practicum Opportunity site looks like. When I click on the Practicum Opportunity site, I do just want to show you this briefly so you know what you're looking at when you get there. When you go to the Practicum Opportunity site, for some of you, you've been past preceptors and you're returning, you've been to this site before, you maybe only use it once per year. So for every preceptor, either you've never been here before or you have registered as a preceptor in the past through the Practicum Opportunity site. And this does require you to have both an email and a password. So if you are a returning preceptor and you're trying to get in, you put in your email and your password and it's just not working, make sure that you're clicking on this forgot password. Again, this is the schools run Practicum Opportunity site. So I don't actually have the back end access to give you your password or restart the password. So we ask you to use this helpful forgot password and you can reset it. And if you've actually never been in the Practicum Opportunity site before, you would just click on preceptor registration. And preceptor registration, really all it's asking you to do is give your basic contact information, your email, you set a password, let us know your title and your organization, and you'll register. And once you register in there, you'll be a designated preceptor within the system, and you'll be able to click on the next thing that you would see would be create an opportunity. And then you're able to create the opportunity by selecting, I'm submitting something for the Baltimore Community Practicum course. The fields are all, like I said, very straightforward, talking about who your organization is, where you're located. You're letting us know, are you going to be, again, fully in person, hybrid? Let us know if you really need to have somebody that's fully remote. And tell us about the student project. Again, what you're putting within the site is really exactly the same language that the students are going to see. So you want to describe to your best of the ability what your project's supposed to look like. Let me stop sharing here for a second, and let me see what kind of questions I might be able to answer for folks. Okay, so I have a question in the chat, so let me read that and share. Could I submit an opportunity, but another staff member will be the primary preceptor for the student? Absolutely, yes, that is an option. As a matter of fact, when you're going into the Practicum Opportunity site, if you're the person that's submitting for somebody else, there's a question that says, are you the primary preceptor or somebody else? And you'll select, yes, it's me, or no, it's somebody else. And if it's somebody else, we'll still ask you to say, okay, it's not you, who's the preceptor? Give us their information. And the reason for that, again, is like, we want to make sure we're in contact with who the preceptor will be. They will need to provide their resume or their CV. They were going to have to complete the online module that we require all the primary preceptors to complete. Again, it's good for about 3 years. And so that kind of flexibility is available within the Practicum Opportunity site. So thank you for asking. That's a good question. What other questions do you all have that I can answer for you about the course, the project proposals, the submission process? because I'm happy to take those. Whether you want to come off mute or drop it in the chat, let me know what's on your mind. I will say, just as you're thinking here, if there happens to be any other questions, there are a number of different students. Again, these are all public health students from Johns Hopkins. You all know that SOURCE serves public health, nursing, and medicine, but this is a particular course that we teach at the School of Public Health. A lot of the students take this course because they can use it for a few different requirements. All of our Masters of Public Health, or MPH students, are required to have a practicum experience. So this is one of the ways that students can meet the practicum requirement by taking this course and working on a project with your organization. There's also a certificate program that I am the faculty sponsor of, which is a certificate in community-based public health. So this is one of the core required courses that gives students experiences in community-based public health. So I have some students, again, that are eager to be a part of the certificate program and work with your organization throughout those 16 weeks. The other thing that I will say, again, from years of experience, both from the community preceptors that have been returners and come back to this course, and the students, is I've had many students say, oh, I wish this would be a required course for everybody. There's some really great content that we explore around public health and community engagement. Again, as I shared, we do this very much in a values-based approach. And a lot of our students, when they are coming into the School of Public Health, are coming in with some good experiences. For our full-time Masters of Public Health students, they actually have a couple of years of work experience before coming back. So the student applications that you'll see, I get mostly master's level students. They could be working on an MSPH, an MPH, an MS degree. We got a lot of master's degree programs. And sometimes I get like an early doctoral student or DRPH student early in their career that participate in the course. So really higher level, great quality student applicants that are eager to collaborate. So I'm always doing that extra plug. Any other questions, comments, concerns that I can answer? I am
Well,
going.
I can just attest to the fact that I've had a student 2 years ago, and she did a remarkable job working with us to do a needs assessment for adolescents who were in need of mental health services, who were at risk. And as a result of that, I requested one for this academic year to help us with a needs assessment. And I've interviewed 4 excellent candidates.
I love it.
Unfortunately, I wish if I could have taken at least 3, but
I know
I guess
that's always the hard part, right?
yeah, I can only take one. But I just wanted to put a plug for what we do, and I just have to say the students are very bright and very eager to help us find answers to some of the questions we struggle in the community, and they're good to work alongside.
Oh, hey, Jose, thank you for sharing that. I mean, again, I think for those that know us well, and for those of you that you're more newly learning about our work, everything that we do at Source, we want it to be mutually beneficial. We don't want to push a student or a project on you that is like not really there to meet your organizational priorities. We want this to be a win-win. So we want you to have great students, and we want them to be working on projects that your organization really wants, right? And just as I tell the students too, it's what you put into it is what you'll get out of it. So when you have a preceptor that is committed to like working with that student and seeing their enthusiasm and helping them make sure they're going down the right direction, getting that important feedback from you all, you really do in the end step away having your needs met, some key deliverables put together. And the other thing that I will do with the students, kind of attesting to what Jose mentioned, is as these students are wrapping up with you, again, they're with you for the 16 weeks, that's a requirement. Some of the students, because it's a second and third term. So remember, I talked about the 16 weeks is in the second quarter and third quarter. I've had a decent number of students that have kind of stayed on throughout the fourth quarter to wrap up the academic year. But with everybody, regardless of when they're wrapping up with you all, we want them to also give you additional feedback about, like, if I were to stay or if you were getting somebody else, like, what would be the next steps? And the next steps could be, oh, well, the next project idea, or like, let's talk about where your team is going to continue to sustain this work. So it's great to have fresh eyes and perspectives and a committed, bright student that's going to be working with you out throughout the 16 weeks. So it's good to have them. I definitely we at Source also have students that work with us, and there's just so much that they can really do. And I've had those great experiences with our students. So I'm always excited, particularly when it's a first time preceptor. Like, I have one of our organizations that's been a long time partner that has actually done mostly more co-curricular or like one-time service projects. And we finally worked on of the more academic project through the course. And she just said to me, Mindy, I really wish I would have done this sooner. And I'm going to continue to do this course year after year. And that's exactly what we love to hear from our organizations, of how we can better support your efforts while simultaneously providing our students with a meaningful experience to serve. So with that, I'll also drop in the chat my email, which is just m11@ahu.edu. Feel free to reach out to me if you have questions or if you want to touch base. Again, if you go into the Practicum Opportunity site and start to put your information in and submit something, it gives me something to respond to, but I can also talk more about some of the ideas that you might have. But think about those project ideas. Don't be shy. You have a couple more weeks, Friday, August 9th. And I will look forward to hopefully working with you all and one of our public health students for the Baltimore Community Practicum course this academic year. Thanks, everyone.